earlier, but here we are. So I'll run through this quite quickly so that Emma has a fair go. Mind you, we're back on track now, aren't we? So
yeah, we are. We're fine by time, so that's
good. Okay, so I think I can't see what you're seeing, but I think you have the agenda on the screen. I was going to chat a little bit about what public relations is. Excuse me, different types of media, about our brand, how to do a bit of public relations yourself, what PR and comms is going to look like in the year, and then any questions. But you can ask me afterwards if you don't want to ask me in front of people, so just email me or whatever. So really what public relations is a cost-effective way of raising your brand. So across digital, across print, it's about being free media. So it's kind of the opposite of advertising, I guess, in a way. So it's to develop discussion and to increase your brand profile, and it's about your reputation, about positively managing your reputation. So when people think of your brand, they think of it in a happy, positive, glowing sort of light. And there are lots of different ways that we can use PR to raise your profile. Sorry, Yasmin, that was the second slide. Are you on the second slide?
No, I got that. That's okay.
Thanks very much. Okay, third slide, please. So a question I get asked quite a lot, it's actually now frequently asked questions, is what is the difference between PR and marketing? So I guess you could see PR as part of your marketing strategy. So marketing is much more focused on ROI. And it is very important, obviously, the bottom line to business, but you can't really quantify PR. You can't really quantify how Emma sees my business, you do better, or how Yasmin sees it, other than keep going with raising your brand profile and doing positive things. So sharing your stories when something good happens, not just about running 10 miles to raise £10 for a charity, because the press kind of see through that story because lots of people are doing that. Not to say it's not important, but we need to find more innovative ways really of raising your profile so that you can get in the press and people can see that you're a cool company to work for, or whatever it is that you want your message to be. Next slide, please, Yasmin, thank you. So I just want to demonstrate types of media for people that don't know, and sorry to people that are marketing managers, I see you there, Joe. So you know all about this, but so there are, in my world anyway, 3 types of media. That's paid, owned and earned. So paid could be advertising, events, SEM, display and video, paid social media. So when you boost or advertise on Facebook, for example. Owned media is something in organic channels, maybe your website, what you put on your website, your newsletters that you send out that Joe Widowson and co do, own social media and content marketing, which could be blogs, press releases, things like that. And earned media is PR. So I work a lot in the earned media. We have to do something to earn exposure, social sharing, viral marketing, building communities and influencers and brand ambassadors, things like that. That's earned media. I hope that makes sense. Very difficult to do a speech when you don't know what everybody's doing. Next slide, please, Yasmin. Oh, I think I went too far. Hold on. That's right. Okay, I think this should now say channel overview. So I'm going to just briefly go through a couple, I think it's 6 channels that you would probably have heard about that I work within the media. So print, pretty obvious. I imagine it's our bread and butter. It's still very much alive, like mail shots. So we can then control that medium to a degree. And it might be ads, shopping ads, editorial is a lot I work in because I'm in PR. So I might write something. So instead of spending £500 on an advert, although that can be complimentary, we would write some editorial and hopefully be printed when we issue it to our various media contacts. So you might want to tailor something to BD magazine and look at forward features, so topics in the future to write towards that. You might want it to be in a specific publication about pets or pets or whatever it is the sector you work in. Next in my overview is search engine marketing. I'm sure you've all heard of it. Using your keywords so that Google can find you, so that other people can find you on Google. So one of the best things you can do for that is to capture your Google My Business profile. If you haven't done that already, Google it, Google my business profile and capture that. So it's kind of, Google is the Bible, I guess, of online searches. So we want to do everything we can to not upset Google and to gain some traction, a footprint online. So another way, once you've got your profile, is to ask for reviews. Google reviews are kind of platinum in terms of people being able to find you online. Next slide, please, Yasmin. OH, which is out of home, so it's big branding, big impact. You might pay for a billboard at 6 Ways when people are attending. This is non-COVID times kind of PowerPoint here. So that's in key areas where there's lots of footfall. So you're talking big money there. TV, cinema, very much the same. Big money, but many brands do use it to promote their product because it captures people's attention, obviously. I use Microscooter there and Emmerdale as an example because we can use PR stunts and things like product placement. So many moons ago, I worked for a company where we placed Microscooter in Emmerdale. So that's quite an interesting take on using TV and cinema to raise your profile. Next slide, please, Yasmin. And affiliates, using affiliates to drive customers to your sites. So maybe clients might then pay a commission. This works a lot in the food and drink industry and the fashion industry as well, but I've used some examples there more locally. And then display. So it's website banners that can appear on different sites that you're browsing. So many brands are now buying their audience. It's called whitelisting. So they are more efficiently spending their money. So that's something to be aware of if you have the budget in your company to use it. Okay, next, please, Yasmin. And then, of course, there's social media. So a bit of an overview. I'm sure you've all heard of all of these types of all these platforms. Obviously, LinkedIn is a bit more corporate, perhaps, than Facebook, although you could argue that these things are now changing. So if you don't have social media platforms for your business, you might want to have a think about that, because it's obviously relatively, well, it's usually free unless you're advertising or boosting posts on it. It's a great form of getting your message out and your brand awareness increased, but I would suggest that you do one well rather than 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, not very well at all. Thank you, Yasmin. Next slide. So the media landscape at the moment, obviously with COVID, it is a little bit different. Some print versions of magazines have stopped printing. Clients have not been advertising. And staff have been on furlough. So some magazines I write for have stopped because all the staff are furloughed. Other magazines have consolidated and are now putting monthly into bi-monthly or even quarterly publications. And some have carried on digitally. But everybody has done things differently, I have noticed. Next slide, please, Yasmin. A little bit about my brand. So as I may have mentioned in the breakout rooms, I run a PR and comms agency, and we work largely with SMEs in Herefordshire and Worcestershire, and I try and help companies raise their brand profile using PR and comms. So again, writing content, press releases, running their social media, generally a broad view. I'm an ex-business consultant, in fact, I'm an ex-trader of electricity many moons ago. So I use my sort of broad spectrum of marketing to support businesses locally, but I also run campaigns for companies as an interim campaign manager. So I might go into a large brand, maybe like Toby Kate. I've had experience with Stella McCartney brand to run certain projects or campaigns where they need extra support. Obviously, they have their own team, but when they need extra support, I'll go in and then I'll leave them to it after it's done. Next slide, please, Yasmin. A little bit about do-it-yourself public relations, really. If I can do it, I'm sure you guys can. A couple of pointers, really, to take away before I talk about what's ahead in the year. I'm sure you can all read that. So understand what your key message is, what you're trying to say. Maybe create a calendar. I love a spreadsheet myself. Pop it in there, see what you're going to do in the week ahead, but be prepared to move it around if something topical comes up or somebody hasn't met a deadline. Find your hook. What is it that makes you unique? build your own rapport with the media or use a PR agency to help you do that. Embrace social media. Define your audience. Who do you want to work with? My audience are SMEs in Herefordshire and Worcestershire. So I wonder maybe what yours are, the same maybe as you're in the chamber. And to remember that your news is news, as long as it is news, which means it has to be timely. And share your story with people, because the editors will decide whether it's newsworthy or not. So it's worth writing a good press release and getting your story out there. And ask for help. Obviously, if you need help to share your story, then people like me and other marketing companies are around. Next slide, please. So what I have to say there is that we are still looking at traditional PR despite COVID times. And I've noticed that in the new year, people have hit the ground running, that they want to share their stories and get on with it. I think we all realise this, that COVID way of working is going to be around for a while. People want to build a credible account of your business. And it does take time and effort, and you have to continually do it. So sometimes people are too busy, excuse me, often to add posts onto social or write content or write a press release, and that's where public relations will come in, and somebody in your business to run that is key to your success. Excuse me. And then next slide, please, Yasmin. I have 10 of these slides and you just have one, so I'm going to run through each one. So PR for the year ahead, PR and comms, really, the trends. I've collated some of the trends that the big boys like Forbes and co are looking at for this year. So just something to maybe get your teeth into if you're looking to increase your marketing, PR and comms this year. So this year, I think, as for me, in every year, integrity is really important with your messaging, both internally and externally. People want to see you being authentic, and stand up for what you believe in, really. Be loud and proud with your messaging. And, ethical public relations is also something that's quite big this year, personal branding. And reputation management has always been massive. If you're a company that wants to be seen in a positive light, why wouldn't you? Then to get ahead of it online, and clients are much more likely to buy into your brand if they believe in you, if you're authentic. Next on the list is trust. People, customers, clients want accurate information from all sources, so they want to see that you're being authentic and trustworthy, whether that's what you read in the press or employers. They want to ensure that you have they can gain a fair representation, I guess, from all parties. So there is fake news around, but this year I think people are calling for influencers, brand ambassadors, to be open and honest too, not just be in it just to increase the brand awareness, but actually be true to the product or service that they are embracing. Next is personalization. That's quite big this year in all sectors, not just PR. But if you think Gymshark, Brewdog, they grew their brand massively last year. And they think outside the box quite a lot and involve their customers with every move. So it's something that perhaps your companies could think about, and targeting regionally. So big up your local messaging, I guess. Transparency, again, builds in with trust and integrity. Be open and honest, build up customer rapport. If something goes wrong, own it and put it right. And then adapt, I guess, and change it so that it doesn't happen again in future. Innovation, there's a lot of new ways to innovate and communicate, and really, I guess my point here is to embrace it. And there are support growth hubs, aren't there, like Beta10, and that's all around the country as well. So I know that there's offers and things from WinHub and stuff around, maybe about £150 or something towards networking and stuff like that. So have a look, see how you can innovate and look around to how it might help you. Digital, huge, obviously this year for obvious reasons. Print is still about, as discussed, but digital is massive, so we need to get on board really, and there are grants and things like that, so take a look. I'm going to try and speed up a bit now. I think I'm going over. Omni Channels, this is about using all channels but well, so that you can increase your customer engagement, basically. Chatbots, podcasts, that they seem to be everywhere. You might want to consider them. Analytics, we need to understand the data behind the posts. So you're posting, you might not be getting to your audience that you want to get to. So you need to have a look and adapt so that you can drive sales and not just post for no reason. Again, there have been data breaches all over the place, especially in COVID, as people are adapting their ways of being slightly dodgy. And also compliance issues around GDPR and Brexit. So they're things to watch out for, and obviously need to adapt if you're working outside of the UK. And upskilling and building your team, looking at opportunities, a little bit like innovation, I guess, taking what you learned from last year and moving forward. And my last slide, please, Yasmin, is just a précis. If you want to contact me, let me know if I can help in any way with your marketing, PR, comms in 2021. Thank you, Yasmin.
Fab. Thank you, Ruby, for sharing your expertise with the group. Does anyone have any questions for Ruby?
I've gone very dark. Must draw the curtain.
Well, we can do questions at the end. That's not a
problem. Yes,
Yeah.
I had one, Yasmin.
Oh, fab.
Sorry.
Thanks, Alison. No, you go for it.
Hi.
Hi, Ruby. Thanks. I loved your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
In your professional opinion, what's kind of the next up and coming social media tool for B2B? I provide a service rather than a product. Somebody mentioned Pinterest, but I would just value your opinion.
It depends. Yeah, it depends what your product is. Does it look pretty on Pinterest? Is it going to be? No, then maybe not. I think LinkedIn works so well for some companies. That's one I would look into. But Google My Business is something I would 100% do for your SEO to increase your brand awareness. It would really depend on what your service or product is as to where you might want to go. But Pinterest is generally for ideas, isn't it? And prettiness, a bit like Insta. But then you've got to look at who your audience is there on Insta. I have some companies that use it because they feel that they should be on every platform. But actually, if you're not getting anybody looking at them, at your posts and things like that, then perhaps it's not worth your time. So yeah, we could look at that and see what might work for you. But I know Pinterest is really useful for some clients, but it would depend on if your product doesn't look that pretty or isn't an innovative idea, perhaps, then it might not take off.
All right then. Thank you. Thanks, Ruby.
Fab. Thank you both. I'm going to hand over to Emma. So Emma from Real World Coaching, who set our goals. So thanks, Emma. Over to you.
Fantastic. Hi guys, lovely to see everyone. I wasn't at the last one of these because I had a holiday. I'd booked a week off, and as with every week off, I booked 3 weeks off in total last year and went, right, I'm going to have a break. And every single one of them, we went into lockdown on that day. So I promise I haven't got anything booked this year. I am here. I've got no holidays. I was at home, but I was trying to, one of my goals last year was to not just go, oh, I might as well just work all the time because I'm at home. So I did have a staycation and did really boring things like sorting the house, but lovely to see everyone because it has been 6 months since the last time I was at one of these, and lots has changed. What I want to focus on today is it's very easy when life is chaos and turbulent and ever changing to just think there's no point planning. Because it's not going to go to plan anyway. So I just want to kind of focus in on how to set goals, how to focus in on business planning for you individually or as a business, without feeling like you're setting yourself up for failure. So giant statement at the moment, we can no longer make a plan and stick to it. On the surface, probably agree with that, but where there's a will, there's a way, and there's lots of different things that we can do to look at doing things in a slightly different way. I will aim to finish this by 11. If anyone has to jump off early, what I've done is I've just pinged the questions into the chat. So I'm just going to walk through a little bit of like kind of the principles that I can see working really well this year whilst things are changing, and then there's a set of questions to get you thinking and setting some goals ready for the next forum. So if you do have to jump off, just copy the questions, no excuses. You can you can do those and take them with you. So these are my top tips for 2021. If you look at traditional goal setting, traditional planning. Lots of large organisations have huge transformation projects and programs going on, and even the way they do those is changing. So there's stuff that we can learn as business owners in terms of how we plan, to mean that we're not setting ourselves up to do something that we probably know deep down is going to change direction. It also means we can kind of take our blinkers off, because I think sometimes when you're so focused on a plan that you've made, you can miss all these opportunities coming along either side. So the first top planning tip for 21 is to focus on outcomes rather than outputs. So if I were to say that by the end of the year, I want to have 5 training programs developed, 5 e-learning programs developed, that might limit my thinking. I might get to the end of the year and have helped the same amount of people, but in a completely different mechanism. So my output should be to think about, right, by the end of the year, maybe I want to have helped put through 100 people through a training program in some mechanism, and have enabled 100 people to be better leaders. That output itself could be achieved in lots of different ways. So if I'm 100% set on I'm going to do an e-learning program, I could spend the whole year trying to do an e-learning program. It could not take off, and then I could feel really annoyed that I've spent all my time focusing on that one thing. It might be, if you then set the outcome as I want to enable and help 100 leaders to be better at understanding themselves and everything else. If I focus on that outcome, I might start with an e-learning course, work out that it's not the right route because people may be going back into the office and everything else, and I might then try something else, and I might try something else, and eventually I might find a mix of things that work that mean that by the end of the year I've helped those 100 people. But if I'd set myself the end of year goal as something physical and touchable, and I'm going to only do an e-learning course, I've blinkered my thinking, and I've set myself up to do something that might not work. So think about what outcomes you want to get by the end of the year, not necessarily how you want to get there, if that makes sense. And being prepared to change course and to fail and to learn and to do it quickly. So a lot of this is getting comfortable with, if I'm going to take the course as an example, because that's a really good example. And I've done this heaps. God, the amount of times my outcome is I want to support people to be better leaders, less stressed, grow their business. I cannot tell you how many mechanisms I've gone through. I've done e-learning courses, I did goals and growth boxes, I've done workshops, I've done one-to-ones, I've tried all these different things to then find a blend of stuff that works. If I looked at every single one of those, I could go, right, I failed at that, I'm stopping. No one wants my e-learning program, no one wants my workshop, or the engagement on that wasn't very good. Whereas actually, if I flip my thinking and I'm still focused on the outcome is I want to help 100 people, I try an e-learning course and go, right, that was pants. Why was that pants? Okay, it was because the time didn't suit people. Maybe people have got children at home, so in e-learning they haven't got the accountability. I'm not failing, I'm just learning. So if you flip your thinking to, I'm just going to try things, I'm going to try it really quickly. If it doesn't work, I learn from it, I tweak it, I tailor it, and I move on. So it's really about changing your mindset from, I'm not going to try one thing and fail, I'm going to try something, I'm going to fail really quickly at it, which means I'm just going to learn, do the next thing, and then by the end of the year you end up with a service that you've molded and blended, and your services will change. They're probably not the same as they were at the beginning of last year, because we have to be open to what's going on. And that leads me on to the third point of being open to new opportunities. If we all try and do things exactly the same way as we did last year, we're probably not meeting the needs of our customers and our clients anymore. So be mindful of what's going on around you, and look for those new opportunities. Don't be, I suppose it's not being precious about what you do currently and the way that you do it, because you might find that you identify things along the way and go, actually, you know what, there's a massive gap there. Why is no one plugging that? I could plug that. Great. Don't see it as direct. Like, again, it's been open to identifying things as you go along. So focusing on outcomes, it's not failure, you're just learning and you're just creating as you go. Don't sit and procrastinate over something, get it out there. If it's going to fail, let it fail quickly, learn from it and move on. It's not a failure, and be open to new opportunities. So with that in mind, we've just got a quick 5-minute goal setting, action setting to finish off the session. I'm going to pop the questions up, and the idea with this is not to overthink it too much, but just to have a bit of an opportunity to spend 5 minutes scribbling down to take you from a bit of a bigger picture into a few actions that you can take away. If you do like to take more time over things, please feel free to copy the questions out the chat, and you can sit and spend a bit of time with a cup of tea after the session. If you want extra accountability, I'll get the guys to send my email out with this, and you can let me know what you're going to do, and I will chase up. I have done that with a few people before, and it's always a friendly chaser, I promise. So on to the last slide. So 5 minutes just to take us up to 11 o'clock. Like I said, don't overthink it. Just start writing what comes to your mind, starting with that bigger picture, and then bringing you down to that, what you're going to do by the next forum. Whilst you're scribbling away, if you do have any questions, I'm sat in the chat now, so if you do have any questions about the three sort of planning mechanisms, feel free to chat me as well. Okay, so I'm going to hand back over, but just I can still see some people scribbling away, so don't forget to copy the questions out the chat if you want to sit and spend a little bit more time on this. It's definitely worthwhile doing, and it's something to have out and not sort of do and put in a drawer. You want to have those outcomes front of mind with you at all times. If you do want that extra layer of accountability, you can message me. So it's just emma@realworldconsultancy.org. You can message me what you're going to do and when you want me to check in with you, and I'll just drop you an email. It's the same sort of, it's like going to the gym. If you know that you've got a personal trainer or you're going to Weight Watchers, if someone's checking in with you, it gives you that extra kick at the bum. So I'm happy to be that kick at the bum if you want to drop me a message. And it's lovely to see everyone, and I'll see you next time.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Emma. I hope everyone's made some goals, and we'll bring them to the next meeting, which we're hoping to be at the end of April. But of course, I will email you all about that. Just one event I wanted to mention before we finish. So with our 5 neighbouring chambers, we have this week launched our West Midlands Virtual Business Expo. So what this is, it's a week-long virtual expo on the 22nd of March to the 26th of March. And we have 75 spaces per chamber. And we are currently selling stands for that. So if you'd like any more info, please let me know. I will include a link on the follow-up email. But that's it from me. I don't want to take up any more of your time. Just thank you to Ruby and Emma for your time today. We really appreciate it. And thank you to Bishop Fleming for sponsoring this event as always. Sorry for the blip again this morning. I hope everyone has a lovely day. I will be in touch later, whether that's on my personal email or on my work email, so please look out for that. But have a lovely day, everyone. Take care and see you soon, hopefully. Bye.
Thank you. Yasmin, have you got 1 minute? Have you got 1 minute when we're finished?
Yeah, no problems.
Thank you. Thank you. I have a very quick question for you, that's all.
Yeah. Oh, I'll stop recording.